We now turn our attention to the Oval Office, where another day, another ambush. That's how it unfolded, where US President Donald Trump used his Oval Office meeting to confront South Africa's president over what he said were important claims against whites in South Africa being treated badly. Trump ordered aides to lower the lights in the room, and there was a video that was played as evidence showing violence against white Afrikaners. The meeting was seen as high risk for Ramaphosa, who was hoping for some sort of a reset in terms of ties with Washington. But he survived what could have been much more serious blow, is what many people say, as far as how this meeting turned out to be. As per analysts, the testy exchange was a reminder of how another White House showdown looked like, that was between Trump and Zelensky not so far back in time. It seems that Ramaphosa kept his composure, pushed back as much as he could, and did not come out as having lost ground, as it was the case with Zelensky. Before I go further, I want to play out that exchange for our viewers to understand just how tense the mood was in the Oval Office. Listen in.
Let me clarify that, because what you saw, the speeches that were being made, one, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can take land.
And then when they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No. There is
nothing happens to them.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now
been utilized. The farmers are not black. I don't say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites.
All right, you heard how it was really coming out as far as that exchange is concerned, which is why I want to put forth first the big questions, and then we get in both David K. Johnston's and Mr. Jaksic on this. First up, are Trump's white genocide claims credible? He said that. He said that on several occasions, and that's what the video and photo evidence was all about. Can Johannesburg, actually reset its ties with Washington at a time when there is so much of a right-leaning taking place in the Trump administration? Is war of words essentially the future of diplomacy, at least in the Oval Office? That's what it looks like. And lastly, as far as Ramaphosa ambush is concerned, is it essentially Zelensky 2.0? And how will that pave the way for the relationship to go on? And Mr. Johnston, let me start with you. How do you see that testy exchange, and what do you make of the US-South Africa relationship from here on?
Well, I thought President Ramaphosa stood up much better to Donald Trump than Zelensky. He clearly was prepared. The 1,000 crosses on graves, that was just a demonstration, symbolic. There were no graves at that location. It was years ago. There was one picture shown on the screen. It was from the Congo. And the politician that Trump had in the video is a minor character from a minor party who was expelled from the parliament in South Africa. But this is typical of how Donald does things. He's not well informed, and people around him lie as they did in this video. So I think President Ramaphosa stood up to Trump quite well. Of course, South Africa is not one of the countries like India and Qatar that Donald Trump is getting money from. And Donald has said publicly many times he likes people who put money in his pocket. And you will see there was a little dig by President Ramaphosa if you watch the full video, where he says, "I wish I had a plane to give you," referring to the gift from Qatar.
Qatar, yes, indeed. And Nela, come in there. How do you read the testy exchange, and what do you make of the future of the bilateral relationship from here on?
Well, first, I would like to comment on the genocide claims. I believe when it comes to any kind of genocide issues, it's extremely hard to discern the validity of the same, especially because of the sensitivity of the nature and the geopolitical situation at stake. Each country has its own version of the genocide narrative, and the truth becomes blurred in situations like this. So without discerning detailed evidence, not based solely on just one video or claim of a specific group or even the specific administration, we cannot really have a concrete answer. We must look at South Africa's history in order to come to specific answers. I mean, we know in the past it was an apartheid country. We know that it was ruled by white minority, the Afrikaners. But in all effort, I believe that South Africa has had issues before, but it has come a long way and it has made successful efforts at reconciliation. So therefore, I think this hasty exchange, we cannot really discern a specific answer whether these claims can be true or not. It just kind of showcases the strategy of the American administration to put leaders on the spot.
So the leaders are being put on the spot as far as Oval Office is concerned for the world to see. And I think that's the future of American diplomacy, at least under Donald Trump. Is that how you see it, Mr. Johnston?
Oh, absolutely. This is to Donald like his quote-unquote reality television show. You'll notice the set is exactly the same as when Zelensky was there. What's going to change is that any future presidents of other countries that Trump wants to humiliate are going to be prepped by their staff, and they're going to know how to respond to Donald. And so it won't work as a long-term strategy, but you will see more of this, and particularly if the leader of a visiting country is not white, because Donald is a white supremacist. In fact, he has been the subject of formal judicial proceedings in the U.S. where he was heavily fined for racist conduct.
All right. Yes, Nela, you want to come in there in terms of how do you see the future of the relationship? Now you want to address that?
Yes, I would like to address the future. I mean, even with the South African president going to the Oval Office and meeting, I think the main goal was the restoration of the relations, bilateral relations between both countries. I think, I mean, some of it was put into the shadow because of the intense conversation during the meeting. However, I do believe that taking into consideration Trump is a businessman, I think he would like to restore the future relations, trade relations with the South African country. And I think basically we've known before that the relations, the trade relations between Africa and the US have relied on the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which was renewed by Congress until September 2025. So I believe that future relations between South Africa and the US will rely on whether Trump will have any kind of implications on the tariffs that are being made, and whether he would honor and renew the AGOA Act that has been previously made between South Africa and the US. So whether this agreement, which kind of guarantees that sub-Saharan African countries will have duty-free access to the US market, has now been threatened with the recent tariffs of Trump, and whether Trump will honor this or will continue to impose like the 30% tariff that he had before on South Africa remains to be seen. But I do believe there is a future between the relations of South Africa and Trump. This is just a political strategy, as I said before, to putting leaders on the spot. But if we can learn something from the Zelensky meeting, is that after he was put on that spot and asked for more accountability, later the minerals deal was signed with the US and Ukraine. So maybe that can be one way of looking forward to the relationship between South Africa and the US, that maybe some kind of a deal will actually come after this meeting, because even the South African president was hopeful, and he said the meeting was in a way successful.
Indeed, it was. It didn't have any of the optics that the Zelensky meeting had. And I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on India Global. Well, the bottom line, viewers, is that this meeting, the one between Donald Trump and South African President Ramaphosa, was essentially Zelensky 2.0. That's what the testy exchange showed. But world leaders have learnt their lessons after that meeting. After all, Ramaphosa held his own to make a snide remark about Qatar's plane gift to Donald Trump. And that, of course, shows that he held his composure and, in fact, was prepared. But the fact that trade talks have not been put into cold storage indicates that there is possibility of progress continuing. After all, it's not just about South Africa, it's about the entire sub-Saharan African countries that need to have better trading terms with America. The tariffs that have been imposed need to be negotiated, and Ramaphosa knew that he cannot let that opportunity pass by with losing his composure. And in fact, the lunch that was cancelled when Zelensky left the Oval Office wasn't the case as far as Ramaphosa is concerned. So to that extent, I would say the optics were much better, even though the takeaways may have been limited.